Carl Rominger here, 540-0580, answering your legal questions. Got a little cold. It's been fighting my voice back. I'm not sure what's going on with it. Anyhow, Tom, you're on WHP 580. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my wife has a couple questions for you about an auto accident and a car I bought yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. Here's Bruce.
Hello?
Hello, Ruth.
I wanted to ask you, my husband bought a car from a used car dealer off of the lot.
Okay.
And we were wondering if he could be held responsible for selling us a dangerous vehicle. The gas tank's leaking, and the frame is rusted, and it was inspected. So what are our rights?
Yeah, if it was inspected, and it was recently inspected, those sorts of problems should allow you to take it back. Mm-hmm. How long have you had it?
Well, we just bought it Friday.
And when did you discover the leak?
When did you discover the leak? First time today. Today, when he filled it up with gasoline. It wasn't filled up. It was almost empty. It was, down low.
Yeah, and the gas was just running out on the ground.
Yeah, he just now discovered it was leaking. He smelled it, and he started filling around, and he's seen the leak.
I would take it immediately to somebody else to have them look at it and verify what's wrong with it, and then get right back to that car dealership and try to return the car and get a refund.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, then I would call a lawyer.
Call a lawyer.
All right.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you another question.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering about the state of Pennsylvania. And also, can I talk, Tom, or are you wanting me to be quiet, or what?
Well,
anyway, okay, the insurance laws of the state of Pennsylvania is what I wondered about. If someone sues you and you're the fault of the accident, after the insurance company pays the maximum amount of money that they can pay, can they come after you for your personal assets?
The answer is yes.
In this state, okay.
Yep.
And here's another question I wanted to ask you.
Tom, can she ask it?
Yeah, here's the question I wanted to ask. Okay, I had an accident, and this man has a witness, and he said that I ran a red light, but I remembered it as green when I went through it, but I was sort of like, the impact was so hard and everything, I was not, sort of like in a dazed state from being hit so hard so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, since he has the witness and everything, and they sent me a ticket in the mail saying that
a court's gonna make a determination, and they're gonna see who your recollection is clouded, and they have two other people. It's a preponderance of the evidence standard, so the judge is only going to go, if I believe this witness, what's more likely than not that what happened.
Okay. And there was a lady in the car, but she said she didn't know what happened to the man's wife, but this was someone else that wasn't in the car.
Correct. So that's the judge is going to base it on that. I got to move on to the next question now because you've already gotten three.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 540-0580. Maybe there's a divorce question hidden somewhere in there. Jim, you're on the air. Jim.
Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question for you. There's a lot of talk in Lancaster County. We have a representative here, Mr. Creighton, that he suddenly decided he wants his pension after he promised the voters 10 years ago that he wasn't going to take it. And my question to you is, are there aspects of a verbal contract in there, whereas, he promised something and someone voted for him on that? I mean, how do they get away with these type of things is my question.
How about the term limits? How many of the guys who signed the term limit pledge ran after their term limits were up?
So what does a voter or a Pennsylvanian do in those matters?
Don't trust politicians, number one, right? No matter what they tell you, no matter what they say, no matter what they promise or what they pledge, it's not binding. I guess there might be an argument that it's some kind of fraud. The next question is who has standing to do it. I guess the pension system, maybe? I'm not sure an individual voter has standing.
Okay.
But let that be a lesson. The next time somebody pledges something, how about they do it in writing? How about they do it in some binding writing that includes a penalty against their person that's legally enforceable and grants standing to any person who wants to enforce it? I could write such a contract. The next time some politician promises something and somebody wants to, let's have some fun. Let's write a 30-page contract. They won't sign it. They'll just say, trust me.
I understand, vote at your own risk type of thing. I just wanted your 2 cents on the matter.
No, and I only say it because I think the problem is they'll weasel out of it. They'll go, and I don't mean to shout
I don't
you down.
recall.
Right, or circumstances have changed, or at the time I did that, I believed, but here's my favorite. Here's the favorite scam of all time that the entire Pennsylvania legislature pulled off on everybody, right? When they raised their pay, and then they reduced their pay. They waited just long enough that for retirement purposes, every person who was part of the pay raise had it for 3 quarters, which become their 3 highest quarters for their pension purposes. So they all bumped their pensions way up, even when they repealed their pay raise back.
Beautiful thing.
And, of course, the judges kept theirs. And guess who else kept theirs? The district attorneys of Pennsylvania. Has one single district attorney in Pennsylvania ever given back the pay raise? Do most people even know that the district attorneys got the pay raise? Because the statute says they make $1,000 less a year than a judge, right?
Okay.
So every district attorney in Pennsylvania, including yours, mine, and every other county, got a pay raise. They all bumped up with the judges. Every single one of them. And when the judges kept their pay raise, right, because they did, district attorneys' pay raises didn't fall. They've all kept it. Not one of them, not one has been criticized for it ever.
Well, these things, they cycle in the news very quickly, and they leave. Everyone quickly forgets it, and they move on.
And I'm thanking God for that myself, because I want the news to cycle for about 2 more days so everybody stops beating up on my craziness.
Well, I agree with what you said. I personally want to see the evidence out. I am a Penn Stater, and I want to see the evidence come forth. And I do agree that he is due a defense.
And my theory on that, just in general, with all big cases or any case, is I just go crazy because people will say, well, this guy did it, or this guy did that. And I'm like, what evidence do you have? And they'll be like, well, he's charged with it. And I'm like, okay, so William Penn was charged by the government and with sedition, which carried the penalty of death. He should have just been killed. Why would we even have a jury trial? Oh, my God, the jury acquitted him, and he went on to found Pennsylvania. But, hey,
exactly. Who
needs a jury trial?
Everyone should have a jury trial.
And, of course, they won't
give you... That's the only way we keep the judges in check.
And let me tell you something. This government, and I don't mean just this government, I mean just any government, needs to be checked by the people as early and as often as possible. And we just keep forgetting that. It's easy to forget it, though. It's easier to go on with your life and, fill your gas tank, except for my caller a minute ago can't fill his gas tank, and just go on. But
well, people need to realize that as a jurist, they are in charge and not the judge.
Yeah, I agree, and I've talked a lot about jury nullification here on the airwaves, and I've tried to keep that word out there. Of course, someday somebody's going to smack me over the head for doing that, too. Mark my words on that.
Yep, they don't like that.
All right, my friend.
Well, you have a great day.
You too. 540-058, and when we get back from the break, we'll keep talking about the law. Just reading the Wall Street Journal there during the break. It's going to study up on do wine aerators actually work. We'll find out during the next break, and then I'll let you know. 540-0580. Al, you're on the air. Hello, Al.
Hello.
Yeah. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, well, I moved here a couple years back and worked for a large company. And then when the economy hit skids, I got laid off. Okay. And at the same time, I found the wife cheating with the neighbor and got divorced.
And bad move.
Yeah. Yes. You can say that again. And I have 2 children. They're now 4 and 8. And I've struggled over the last couple of years to find employment that would allow me to, I guess, effectively take care of them. And I have joint custody, so I have them half the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been offered a position back with the company. However, it's in Illinois. And so my question is, what happens to custody if I decide to move away? And if I ever come back because I have an office here, can I get that?
Yeah, what you should do is probably either reach an agreement or go to custody court and get an order that allows you to relocate and says what should take place in the meantime. But we can also include provisions prospectively that say, should you be able to transfer back, here's how custody will look.
Okay. And I mean, my like I said, my kids are 4 and 8, and the 8-year-old, I've asked him, and he said he wants to move with me.
Well, and it's also possible to get a relocation order, and there's a standard called the the Gruber analysis. And in the Gruber analysis, we look at the reason for moving, and we make sure it's not just to frustrate custody, we make sure it's in the best interest of the child, et cetera, et cetera. But you may be able to also get a relocation order, which would allow you to relocate and keep custody.
Because I'm wondering, I don't want to lose custody of my kids if I move away.
Right. And actually, I did a relocation. I did a contested relocation hearing not too long ago with somebody who actually did want to move to Illinois. And Dad won and took the kids with him. So it's not impossible, but every custody case is different. So what your best thing to do is to sit down with a lawyer off the air where you can have a little bit of quality time and go over in detail the kinds of things we need to know. And potentially you could move to Illinois with your children. Worst case scenario is you could take the job opportunity with an understanding of what happens if you can come back to the area.
Okay. Well, my last question is that this neighbor has bought her a house, a $300,000 house. I'm still unemployed, and now I've just been living off my savings. And so I didn't want to take government help. So I've been just burning my savings because I was job hunting. And so, thing is, she's still sticking me for $400 a month in child support.
Right.
And my question is, they're not technically married, but they're driving BMWs, and I'm in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment, and she's still soaking me for $400 a month.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that right? Or
well, it depends on the support order that you've got, and you may be able to modify it based on deviating from the guidelines. The guidelines are very income driven, but if you haven't been back since you lost your job, it would be well worth it. If you've been back since you lost your job, you need to let them know what their lifestyle standards are like, etc. But nonetheless, it would be a deviation from the guidelines you'd be looking for.
Well, the job offer starts March 1st, so I guess I don't see any point in
going
there to do it right now for a month or two. But I don't know. I just didn't want to milk the system, and I kept figuring I was going to search for a job. So, unfortunately,
all right, my friend.
I burned a lot of my life savings.
Yeah, that's not good.
Anyway, all right, Carl. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Love the show.
All right, Al. Thank you very much. Let's see here. 540-0580. Jackson.
Yeah, hi, Carl.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good, good. Hey, I got a situation here. I live in Lancaster County, and I know you have a open office in Lancaster.
Correct.
But I'm in Raffo Township, okay? And I don't know if you're aware of it or not down there. What they recently did was they started a real estate tax, which they never had before, okay, to fund 2 fire companies and local police protection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we already have state police protection, okay? My question is, where is the legal mandate that we as taxpayers have to fund these fire companies?
Well, let me put it this way. The township has the ability to raise or fund a fire company, and they have the power to tax. So that's kind of where it comes from through the municipal code that talks about which townships of what classes have what powers. Okay. Also, by default, any township can fund a police department, but if they choose not to, it falls on the state police.
Oh, I see. So in other words, we'll be paying for state police and for local police.
Well, you'll be paying for the state police indirectly now through your state taxes.
Yeah.
And you'll be paying for the local police directly through your local taxes.
Okay. Well, shouldn't they have actually put this on a ballot referendum?
I don't know if they have to or not. I don't know if they have to or not. I don't think they do.
Is there a way? To find out somehow?
Yeah, you'd have to do some research of the municipal code and make sure they did everything in compliance.
Okay, because this is not settling very well with a lot of residents.
Yeah, well, and there's always the political solution, which is called, hey, we want to vote you guys out and repeal this.
Yeah, I had already wrote them a letter considering that a campaign against them.
Interesting.
So,
Good luck,
yeah,
brother.
I mean, it just seems wrong. You know, we're taxed to death.
Well, I know, and the municipalities have a lot of power. I said that earlier on the show. A lot of people are really concerned about who the Supreme Court justices are, but who your township supervisors are, or your mayor or your borough council have a lot more daily power and taxing power over you than a lot of other entities.
Okay, so you're saying I need to check the municipal laws of the township?
Well, there'll be municipal enabling code for the state that'll tell you what they can and can't do.
Okay, where can I find that? Do you know?
You know what? I would just go to Google and put Pennsylvania Township Code, and then you got to figure out which class your township is, et cetera, et cetera. But that you'll see once you see it. You should be able to Google it up.
Where is your office located in Lancaster City?
1000 North Prince Street.
Oh, North Prince.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And okay, one more thing, real quick.
All right. You get one more question.
Just real quick. For some reason, I got knocked off your website.
Huh?
Okay?
Off weekend appointment.
Yeah. And it says that I was banned, and it's never lifted, and I have no idea why. I didn't do anything.
Send an email to me, Carl@Rominger.com. I'll forward it, and we'll figure it out.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Thanks.
Thanks. All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Drew Deo, how are you?
Not too bad, Carl. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. What have you been up to?
A little bit of this and that, I haven't been working on as many high-profile cases as the one you're working on right now.
Well,
but no, I have an interesting case I've been working on this week. A real estate a failure to disclose in a real estate a sale of real estate. It had to do with a septic system, and this thing's always had problems. And it was a clear part on the seller to hide that. Didn't mention it in the disclosure form. Then these people bought what they thought was their dream home, only to have human waste sort of spew all over the top floor of the house when the septic overflowed. So that's a unique case that we're working on. I think we have I think it's a good case. The only problem is with cases like that is if you can't hold, the real estate agent on the hook. Sometimes there's just no deep pocket to go after. What are you going to get out of the seller? If he doesn't have anything. So that's the problem that you run into in cases like that, but I think it's a good case.
Well, Drew, another lawyer that I talk with was lamenting, collectability of judgments and trying to explain to clients that just because a judge says you're awarded a pile of money doesn't mean you get a pile of money. And it seems to go in the client's ears and right out the other ear because they want satisfaction, they want justice, and it's hard for them to believe that once a judge orders somebody to pay them money, that is just a small step in the process of collectability, and that, in fact, quite often, the judgment might not be collectible at all.
Right, and and so I don't think it's uncommon, too, to spend more time trying to collect than actually getting the judgment. And in this case, classic, like O.J. Simpson, the seller moves down to Florida, where there's unique laws with what you can do as far as attaching a lien on a home and things like that to collect. So we'll see what happens.
All right, my friend, can you hold with me here for a few more minutes to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
All right, hold on here. Who's next? Rich, you're on WHP 580 with Carl and Drew. What's going on? Rich.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, well, you can make me rest easier.
All right. Tell me what's going on.
I deal with a local bank that's having some difficulties, as most banks are.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern is that I have on deposit with this bank a big chunk of money for me. And what would happen? Are they allowed to just drop FDIC insurance?
No. If they're a bank, they're required to carry FDIC insurance by law, and you would be FDIC insured up to the maximum allowable limit, which I can't remember what it is these days. But yeah, you should be protected.
So, okay. Now, if something happens and they go belly up,
and then what happens is they get taken over.
Yeah, then the FDIC insurance.
Now, here's the bad news. I'm told that your money may not be readily available necessarily in those circumstances. So it might behoove you to take a chunk of change and just put it somewhere else.
Oh, I always heard that it was like the next day almost.
Yeah, I don't know, but I have heard that when banks get taken over, that that there is sometimes, issues. Now, and it may be certain amounts, too. I don't know. I do know that right now, Governor Corzine's financial firm lost $1.6 billion. I guess when it's lost, you can't do anything about it. But with a bank, at least you have that insurance. But again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to try to create a run on the bank. All I'm going to tell you is that if I thought my bank was impaired, I might put some of the money in a second bank just so I had no interruptions in service, so to speak.
Okay, well, that was part two of the
yeah. All right. I got to go to break, brother. Thank you very much.
All right.
See, I anticipated the second question. 540-0580. Go to break. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here. I got Drew Deo hanging with me. Steve Snyder, are you here as well?
Yes, I am. Hi, Carl. How are you today?
Good. What have you been up to?
Well, I'm just calling in to participate on the call-in show.
All right. Well, hold tight. We'll see what other kind of calls we have. Maybe you guys can help me here. Carl from Hershey, you got some advice for the guy with leaking gas?
Yes, Carl, I have advice for the people who had that called in about that leaky gas tank.
Yeah.
I have a friend who had the same situation, and what he did is he called the Attorney General's office, the state police, and PennDOT. And depending upon when the inspection was done, anyhow, in this situation, the mechanic lost his license because he inspected a car which is not inspectable. And it's my understanding that a car is not supposed to be saleable from a licensed dealer unless it isn't inspectable. I know these people here got their money returned in a big hurry when they contacted these organizations. I hate to say this, and they save lawyers' fees.
No, really. And actually, I've referred people to the Civil Division of the Attorney General's office a few times over the years.
Yes, and they had good luck. And I said they quick response, got their money refunded, no problem.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Carl.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Let's see here. Let's see, 540-0580 is a talk line number. Martha, you're on the air. Martha.
Oh, yes, Carl. I got a jury summons. I have a question about one of the questions. The question is, are you over 70 and wish to be permanently excused from jury duty? How do you answer that if you're over 70 and you want to be on the jury?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be excluded from jury duty.
That's right. But I am over 70.
Yep. So the answer is no.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's yes to you're over 70, but it's the second part you're saying no to.
Yes. All right.
All right.
I just thought it was a kind of a...
It's a trick question.
Difficult question, yes.
All
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. I'm going to leave that one alone. Let's see here. Steve and Drew, while he's screening somebody here, I'm not sure who we got coming up here next, but Steve, you got any exciting cases you're working on? I mean, did you save anybody's sewer system lately or anything?
No, nothing that I think is, let me just think a minute.
Nothing newsworthy. Steve's working on nothing newsworthy. All right, that's okay.
Well, Steve will be involved in that case with the failure to disclose the septic problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about the problem with collectability of judgments here.
Yeah. Yeah, I can talk about that. I can talk about any kind of failure to disclose real estate stuff.
Well, here we go. Willard.
Okay, hi.
From Mannheim. What's going on, brother?
Oh, well, actually, we got just discovered a neighbor's barn fire, and so there's been quite some activity going on around here, but hopefully I can get my question through to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a power of attorney for my parents. They're in their 90s, and just recently, well, my dad can't write checks anymore, and my mom's been doing it, but she had a stroke. So I'm in charge of paying bills and stuff as power of attorney, and my parents are in Illinois, okay? So I'm sort of long distance. My sister lives there, and she emails me what she needs checks made out, and I send them to her. But the bank is suggesting that we put my name on as a or a joint owner on the account with my parents on their account, on their checking account. And my question is, what would my liabilities be if there would be long-term claims against them or something, and I have my name on that account?
Excuse me, as a general rule, putting your name on that account doesn't make you responsible for anything else involving them. The two things you have to be careful about, though, is if you put any of your own money in it, it may become capturable. And second of all, if you put any of your own money in it or were to add them to an account which had assets of your own, those may become partially taxable in an estate situation. So putting your name on the account alone would not be a problem. Putting your own money in or putting them on an account you already have would be.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So my concern was if they ran up some major medical bills or something that they couldn't then...
Just because you have a joint account, if you and I had a joint account together and I go out to Las Vegas and run up $1 million gambling bill, they can't get to anything of yours, just the joint account us two have together.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. So that's helpful. Thank you very much.
No problem. I'm glad it was.
I appreciate it.
Don't you think, Willard, that the other two lawyers could help to answer that question? I mean, don't you think they're slacking?
Well, one of the things I would suggest, Carl, this is Steve, is the other concern is if he ever gets a judgment against him, they might have access to that account, which would then give them access to the parents' funds as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it could go the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Willard.
All right. Bye.
I didn't see Drew weighing in there at all. Dorothy, you're on the air. Dorothy, you're on the air.
Yes, Carl, I have a quick question. We have a personal home that's in my husband and I's name, and I'd like to get the house redeeded into the name of a revocable trust that we also have. How do we do that?
Okay. Well, you want to deed it into a revocable trust?
Yeah. Well, we want to deed it into the name of a revocable trust.
And you would just write a deed and deed it into the name of the revocable trust. But here's my question. What's the advantage of putting it into a revocable trust? I understand deeding into an irrevocable trust. But in Pennsylvania, at least if you're trying to some fancy footwork for estate purposes, it's not going to make any difference.
Huh. Well, it's a revocable trust up until the point that something would happen to my husband and I, in which case it would then become irrevocable.
Right.
Revocable means that we can manage the assets. I guess you could still manage the assets even if it was an irrevocable trust.
And the problem with revocable trusts is because they're revocable at any time, the assets are really basically yours for Medicare purposes, yours for tax purposes, yours for judgment purposes, etc. So anyhow, it's a very simple thing to do, to deed it to an irrevocable or revocable trust. The big question is why are you doing it, and just make sure that you have a plan on why you're doing it.
Well, the reason we have a revocable trust is so that, as you said before, to save on estate taxes and such, where you put your assets in the name of the trust.
Yeah, and the problem is here in Pennsylvania, because you control the trust still belongs to you, so it's still taxable at the time of your death. The irrevocable trust vehicles, as I understand it, work best in states like New York and Arizona, where they can remove certain assets from the probate process. But here in Pennsylvania, they really don't have an effect on the probate process, per se. So
the revocable trust doesn't do us much good.
Probably not. An irrevocable trust, however, is a very clever way of doing things. However, it creates its own set of costs as well.
Huh. At what point in time would you put a house that's paid off into an irrevocable trust?
When I had enough other assets and liquid available that I knew that all you would need is the income off of it someday. But again, every state situation is different, and every person's financial situation is different. So I can think of a time I had a couple who had, say, 8 rental properties that were all paid off. And so my suggestion to them were to put 6 of the rental properties into an irrevocable trust, take the income off of that, but have the irrevocable trust vest in their kids so that, in case there was a problem with the nursing home or something along those lines, they could draw income off those homes. But the question that came up was, well, what if we want to sell them someday and use the money for something else? And I'm like, you can't. That's why it's called an irrevocable trust. You can't do anything with it either.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, generally irrevocable trusts are set up if you're trying to provide funding for somebody, but you're concerned about their ability to qualify for public assistance or Medicare or things like that.
Or to wealth skip or to push generation down or wealth down through generations. The problem is most of us don't want to give up access to certain amounts of cash. So, if you're worth $18 million and you want to roll 6 of it into a revocable trust, well, you still got $12 million to play with. If you're worth $900,000 and you push $700,000 into a irrevocable trust, there may be a limit then with what you can do with your remaining $200, and you go, well, I don't want to give up control of that. But the question is, do you want to create an irrevocable trust and all the cost and expense involved, for just a few $100,000? And maybe the answer is no.
Right, gotcha. Okay, all right.
All right,
Very
Dorothy.
good.
So
Thank
if you're
you.
thinking about redeeding something, make sure you're doing it in the context of a grand estate plan, probably with the help of a financial advisor and an estate attorney.
Yeah.
All right?
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, thanks. 540-0580. When we get back from the break, we'll keep answering legal questions. I got Steve Snyder and Drew Deo with me.
Fascinating decision by the defense team today, almost unprecedented, certainly in Pennsylvania. The big question I was asking, why did you waive Jerry Sandusky's rights to have this hearing today?
Unprecedented in large cases, normal in almost everyday cases. I have to point that out. But that was me on Piers Morgan the other night. And what I love, the national media says, "Oh, you guys waived this preliminary hearing. You waived this preliminary hearing." I got an email from one of the local reporters for one of the local newspapers to say that she was bemused by the national media's fascination with the waiving of a preliminary hearing when approximately 90% of all preliminary hearings are waived in the state of Pennsylvania, including many for very serious charges, often when concessions are given, just like in our case they were. But my point is, just was kind of funny that seems to be the theory amongst the pundits is, well, nobody waives a preliminary hearing. But if you actually went to any district justice and went through the records and looked at the percentage, you would see that it's the majority, if not a super majority of all preliminary hearings are waived without further hearing.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are confused as to exactly what a preliminary hearing is. They seem to think or have a notion that there's some sort of guilt or innocence being decided that day, and there's not. It's just a weighing of evidence, really, and without there's no beyond a reasonable doubt standard there. There's not much for the Commonwealth to have to really meet their burden. I think there's a misconception as to what a preliminary hearing even is.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is people, and you know this from practice, people will show up with their witnesses and they're ready to have the trial, so they want to bring their alibi witness, or they want to. And remember, an alibi is not relevant defense at a preliminary hearing.
No,
or they want to bring their guy who's going to say, "Yeah, I saw the whole thing and it was self-defense." Well, self-defense isn't a defense at a preliminary hearing.
Nope.
Or somebody say that guy's lying through his teeth, and that doesn't matter because that's not a defense at a preliminary hearing.
In a lot of counties now, I know Franklin County in particular, they're all hearsay is admissible at a preliminary hearing. It's a total different ball game than a trial, but I think a lot of people confuse the two.
Yeah. All right, I can't see who's on line one for some reason. Oh, okay. Bill, you're on with Steve and Drew.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah.
I never can tell you right at the beginning if I'm on or not. Hey, anyhow, I just want to tell you about a show I saw. It was about John Adams. When he was a colonist, then a mob shot one of the British officers, and none of the lawyers would defend the British soldier. And then John Adams says, if we're going to have a civilized society, somebody has to defend him. So then John Adams defended him, and then he got ridiculed for doing it because the colonists and the British and all that. And then so he got the guy off because the soldier was defending himself. Now you can look it up on Google to make sure I've got all my facts right. But I saw this in the movie about John Adams, and it was interesting. That's about all I got.
Yeah, Bill, and I appreciate that. And actually, that's kind of one of the jokes I always like to make about being a defense attorney. People go, "Oh, you shouldn't compare yourself to founding fathers." And I'm saying I'm not comparing myself to a founding father, but I'm trying to make an illustration is John Adams, Abe Lincoln, Cicero all did defense work and all defended people who were wildly unpopular in their day. And my point on all that just is that that's the root of freedom and that's the root of democracy, is the fact that we just don't say to the government, yes, you're right. Yes, everybody you say is guilty. And in fact, even when everybody and their brother just wants to pile on and just assume that guilt exists, those are the most important cases to defend, because once government gets away with it, they'll get away with it again and again and again.
Thanks, Carl. Bye.
Thanks, Bill. So I think Bill was spot on there, boys. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And especially with the recent case you're taking on, we hear a lot of that. But yeah, and I think that's a concept some people don't really grasp. That defending someone who's widely unpopular really is the root of democracy and in our system. And some people, well, why is it taking so long? Let's hammer this through. Oh, he did it. Let's why can't this move faster? Why is it going to take a year before we get the trial? All those types of things. And I sometimes want to say, would you rather go back to the system where we drop you in a tub of water, and if you sink, then you're guilty, and if if you float, then you're not, or maybe it's vice versa.
The tub of water was if you drowned, you weren't a witch.
Okay.
But if you survived, you were a witch, and you had to be burned at the stake.
That's how some people would rather have it at times. It seems, but I agree 100% with that last caller.
Yeah, and he's a pretty frequent caller here on the show. I just want to remind people while we're waiting for the next caller to be screened here that if you go to weekendappointment.com, you can get a free will kit. You send it in, we'll write you a free will. I just did one of those yesterday. And, of course, if you need to hire Steve Snyder to do some of your business work for you, your municipal litigation, Steve's years of experience working with modular and construction issues. Kelvin, you're on with Carl, Steve, and Drew, and if you wanted to get hold of any of us, Kelvin, off the air, you'd go to romingerlaw.com. But what's your question on the air here?
My question is, what legal right does someone have to, like a Yellow Pages, to give you an advertisement, and then you take it for the free month, and then I said I'm not interested in anything past the free month, but now I received a bill for $600, and they're saying that I agreed to it.
Well, we'd have to see the contract you signed.
Yeah. I didn't sign anything. It was only verbal over the phone. They claimed they had it recorded, but I asked to have a recording, to have a copy of that recording, and they wouldn't give it to me.
Interesting.
I guess this is Steve Snyder. I guess I would simply say, just because they say you owe it doesn't mean you owe it, and if you simply tell them, you could write them a letter, or just tell them, look, I didn't agree to anything more than the 3 months. It's really up to them to file a suit against you, and at that point you would defend.
They said they're turning it over to a collection agency. Now, I haven't heard any more since that. I just didn't know if there was anything I should be doing in preparing for that, or just letting it run its course and see what happens.
Can I talk a little bit about collections, Carl?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we do a lot of this. Pennsylvania actually has a statute. There's a federal statute as well called the Consumer Debt Collection Fair Collection Practices Act, and the law as to what collection agencies can and can't do is very, very specific, and it's so specific that the law actually provides that if a collection company or anybody trying to collect a debt violates the law, the other party, the debtor, is entitled to treble damages. That's 3 times damages, and that law is very specific, as I mentioned, about what they can and can't do. As an example, if you inform a creditor that you've hired an attorney, they immediately have to stop contacting you. It provides for specific hours when they can and can't call you. They can't call your employer, things like that. And a lot of times when I talk to people that are just inundated by either a number of debt collectors or just one that just won't stop or is very harassing, I tell them, well, if you hire an attorney and you simply notify them that you have an attorney and they're to no longer contact you, that collection practice will stop immediately. And so, again, just because they send it to a debt collection company, again, doesn't mean that you're guilty or that, in order to collect on a debt, you first have to get a judgment, which means win a lawsuit. And just to chime in on that, Steve, I've noticed, too, a lot of times when debt is bought and sold, when a new entity takes over the debt, a lot of times they don't have the original contract with the person who took it. They don't have a lot of that information. They can. All right,
boys, we're out of time. Sorry about that. I had to cut them off, guys. RomingerLaw.com is where you're going to find us. RomingerLaw.com. Of course, we'll be here next week as well for 2 full hours. And love doing this show, so I will keep doing it.